Mitt travels to the world of pirates and replaces Zefa as a naval instructor, with elite students such as Red Dog and Yellow Ape under his command. Mitt is bound to the strongest instructor system. You have found potential newcomer Barrett for the Navy and obtained monster physique. You have successfully gained the recognition of the 3 generals and obtained the fruits of natural disasters. You have successfully cultivated 5 great generals' naval strength and obtained the top level of Overlord color Entanglement. Mitt looked at his navy, which was constantly strengthening, and at his own rising strength. Mitt is very satisfied. When the world government issued another order to the Navy, it was discovered that the Navy's cannons had already been aimed at Maracoya. Felu Naval Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. System Start. Navy Instructor. You are listening at Naval Full.audio. In the year 1409 of the Hyuan calendar, the headquarters of the Navy was Marinfando. Not long after the shocking Battle of the Divine Valley, the sea is still full of wind and clouds. More and more pirates are going out to sea, and the Navy can't even care. Therefore, in recent days, a new office has been established within this organization that upholds justice in the sea. Surprisingly, only a rear admiral could have an office at the headquarters of the Navy. But no matter which soldier, there is no objection to this rear admiral. Even when it comes to him, many people still carry some respect. In the Major General's office, Mitt, who had just taken office, had a calm expression and was looking at the list in his hand. There is a plaque written by Mitt himself hanging on the background wall behind him. Hegemonic justice. Undoubtedly, this is Mitt's way of handling things. This list was sent over by a naval soldier who is currently standing at his desk. Major General Mitt, the list of new recruits for the first phase of the Navy is already on it. Please take a look. Mitt nodded slightly and focused his attention on this list. Above is a list of newly recruited soldiers who have just joined the Navy and have emerged in a short period of time. All of them are highly regarded objects within the Navy, so it is natural to let Mitt, as an instructor, take a look. Originally, this list was supposed to be handled by instructor Zefa, but he was injured. Zefa and Mitt also participated in the Battle of God's Valley and fought bravely. Therefore, after the war, Mitt was promoted from colonel to brigadier general by the Navy and specifically transferred to the Education Department. To cultivate the future of the next generation for the Navy, Mitt is definitely highly valued. However, those superiors were not aware that Mitt, who had protected the Tianlong people and died in battle, had long been replaced by men from another world. Of course, Mitt will definitely not expose this situation now. When he first traveled, he was a bit resentful, but now he has been attracted to another situation. Looking at the names on the list that would become popular in the future, such as Sikorsky the Red Dog, Pagliusolino, and others, Mitt couldn't help but smile. Fortunately, we have traveled through a very early era, and these masters are now just small fry. At least I know some of the plot of the One Piece King, but now it's almost awakening the system. As long as the system is awakened, not to mention anything else, being a teacher is definitely not a problem. The soldier in front of the desk couldn't help but ask quietly when he saw Mitt hesitating to speak. Major General Mitt, are there any issues with this list? Mitt reacted from his thoughts and quickly said. No problem, you can go back first. Remember to ask Ziyuan to come over. The soldier nodded immediately and then turned around to prepare to leave. At this moment, a tall and beautiful young woman walked in voluntarily. Major General Mitt, there's no need to be so troublesome. She spoke in a beautiful voice, with a pair of seductive eyes gently resting on Mitt. This is the still young Peach Rabbit Garden. As soon as Mitt was transferred to the Ministry of Education, he immediately applied to have Ziyuan serve as his personal guard. Because the current Ziyuan is just a junior non-commissioned officer who has just been promoted to a naval lieutenant, the higher-ups naturally will not disagree. You're here, Ziyuan. Mitt smiled and nodded at the other person. How's the matter I've told you? I have already sent the people over, Major General Mitt, Guillaume immediately said. He's waiting outside in the hallway right now. Okay, Mitt's smile grew stronger. Then bring him in and you can leave. Yes, Ziyuan immediately walked out of the office and brought in the person Mitt had mentioned. This is a boy around 7 or 8 years old, with a shaved head and a slightly rebellious expression on his face. However, because he had suffered a lot before coming, the boy was quite cooperative. He is looking at Mitt, and Mitt is also looking at him at this moment. Upon seeing this, Ziyuan couldn't help but shake his head and turned around to leave the room. She really doesn't know why Mitt is looking for such an 8-year-old boy. Of course, because Mitt is her immediate superior, she still has to obediently obey the other party's orders. You're Barrett, right? Mitt looked at the boy and said. His smile narrowed and his eyes lit up. Bars megatone. Don't think your navy is anything special. I just heard that following you can eat until you're full, wear thick clothes, and get a good night's sleep. You can't lie to me. Although this child is only 8 years old, there is already a murderous aura emanating from all over his body. This is something that only those who have been to the battlefield will have. Of course, Mitt knows who Barrett is, which is why he brought him over. The advantage of knowing the plot is that for the Navy, finding a kid from a fixed area is not difficult. Moreover, those over there have let children like Barrett become scouts, so using some benefits can naturally make the other party obediently send them over. The reason why Barrett was brought over was because Mitt needed the other party to activate his system. This guy can fight the underworld king Raleigh back and forth at the age of 15, and he definitely meets the conditions to activate the system. Mitt smiled slightly and said in a deep voice. I keep my word, kid. Since joining the Navy, there are no issues with food, accommodation, or even other aspects. Sure enough, Barrett immediately showed an excited expression upon hearing Mitt say so. It sounds good, then I'll join in. Barrett nodded, and Mitt's mind immediately heard the cold sound of the system. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully exploring the potential of the student with S. The strongest instructor system has been successfully bound. Now the host's camp is the Navy, and cultivating students can earn rewards. Mitt couldn't help but smile on his face. The system has finally started. This instructor system requires Mitt to cultivate students and enhance their abilities. If students become stronger, Mitt will become stronger and receive rewards. Once the number of students who have reached a certain level of strength meets the requirements, Mitt can also receive a larger amount of rewards. Similarly, newcomers who discover their potential at level S can also receive rewards. So the sound of the system rang out in Mitt's mind again. Detected students with potential S, rewards will now be issued. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the system activation and student discovery rewards. Mitt felt anxious in his heart and without hesitation accepted this reward while opening his own panel. Mitt. 25 years old, Major General of the Headquarters. Dao Li, 2000, Ability. Seeing and Hearing Colorful Dominance Beginner. Armed Colorful Dominance. Intermediate. 6 Styles. Mastery. Armed Color Dominance and Navy 6 are the new rewards Mitt has received. Because of this, his Taoist power rose to 2000. Mitt remembers that the newly debuted Roblox Dodo had a strength of 4000. That is to say, he is still far from being a match for Rob Rookie. Noticing this, Mitt couldn't help but shake his head and muttered to himself. Just this kind of strength is not enough to look at in the open sea. Only Barrett looked at Mitt with confusion. Hello. What should I do now? Mitt was slightly taken aback, smiled, and said loudly. Come with me, it's time for you to make a debut. Chapter 2. Appears. The Mentors of the Three Great Generals. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On a nearby small island, a group of newly recruited soldiers who have just arrived at the naval headquarters are gathering together. They are all potential newcomers specially selected by the Navy headquarters and prepared to be well cultivated. Because they are all very young, these people are discussing the situation fiercely while the instructor is not here today. Young T-Peng received news from the officer and hurried over. He shouted loudly. "Everyone! I heard from the officer that General Zefa is not coming today because he is feeling unwell. But there will be another officer to be our instructor." Upon hearing T-Peng's words, the discussion at the scene became even more intense, prompting the Navy colonel responsible for maintaining order to repeatedly stop him. "Please be quiet first. Wait for the new instructor to come over." "Sir." A serious-looking young man raised his hand in the crowd. "Who will be our instructor on Earth?" The naval colonel did not conceal anything and said directly. "Sikorsky, the replacement for General Zefa is Major General Mitt. You must have heard of it." Sure enough, upon hearing Mitt's name, Sokaz nodded. Major General Mitt shone brightly in the Battle of the Valley of the Gods, and he was indeed very impressive. Major General Mitt. T-Peng's eyes widened. "I heard he bravely killed the enemy in the Valley of God and protected many sailors." Other teenagers present also discussed Major General Mitt's situation one after another. In their view, although Mitt is not as good as General Zefa, he must be very capable of making great contributions in the Valley of God. Everyone had different reactions, and the yellow ape, who intentionally fell behind the entire team, shrugged when he heard the news. Leaving aside Major General Mitt, it would be great if Teacher Zefa didn't come today. Zefa is usually very strict with Polyasolino, often making him less dependent on fruit abilities. So when he heard that Zefa couldn't come over at the moment, Polyasolino's first reaction was to breathe a sigh of relief. On the other hand, the tea pufferfish next to Polyasolino couldn't help but pout. "Isn't that Major General Mitt? Just take Ziyuan away and let her become some kind of personal guard. If it weren't for that guy causing trouble, I would have confessed to Ziyuan successfully long ago." Upon hearing the complaints of the tea pufferfish, Polyasolino couldn't help but laugh. "I don't think even if Ziyuan hasn't been transferred, your confession won't be successful. You." Cha Fu Jia Sherdun became angry and was about to speak when Sikorsky interrupted him. Sikorsky's voice was loud and quickly overwhelmed everyone present. "Since Major General Mitt is coming to replace Teacher Zefa, let's all wait well. According to the rules and regulations, don't leave a bad impression on Major General Mitt. Red Dog Sikorsky has always been serious in his work, and once he confirms something, he will not hesitate to do it." So he quickly accepted this situation and entered a new role. Adding to Sikorsky's prestige among this group of people, the atmosphere of discussion suddenly weakened. Only Polyasolino clasped his ears, still looking casual. His posture is not too restrained in front of General Zefa, let alone Major General Mitt. Cha Fu Jiashi is still talking about the matter of Ziyuan, which is not an ordinary concern for him. Among the crowd present are 2 future generals, several generals, and many backbone forces. It can be said that this group of people is the future of the Navy, and it is definitely not an exaggeration. Quickly, while these people were waiting, a warship approached. Mitt and Ziyuan got off the boat together and quickly walked towards the crowd. Mitt's appearance immediately sparked a heated discussion among the students. Although they had all heard of Mitt's reputation, they never expected him to be so young. It can be said that Mitt is now less than a few years older than them and still wants to be their teacher. Upon realizing this situation, many people unconsciously wore a hint of contempt in their eyes. Mitt remained calm and looked in the other direction. A group of soldiers walked over with Barrett wearing the uniform of the Shanghai Army and stood in front of Mitt. "Report to Major General Mitt that the escort has been completed." Mitt waved his hand and looked at Barrett with a smile in his eyes. Unlike Mitt's expression, Barrett's face was very unhappy at the moment. Just as he was on the warship, Barrett was forced to listen to many naval regulations. This makes people from countries with endless wars very unhappy, thinking it's too rigid and dogmatic. You should know that in Barrett's country, rules are not important at all. As long as the fist is strong enough and the strength is strong enough, one can dominate. But when it came to the Navy, the rules changed, which made Barrett very dissatisfied. Feeling unhappy, but Barrett still followed along obediently, just not looking good. Mitt looked at the other person and nodded slightly. With such a powerful aura, I now have the embryonic form of a monster at the age of 8. He is truly a man who destroyed his country at the age of 14. After not thinking for long, Mitt's gaze swept over everyone present and he spoke loudly. My name is Mitt, Rear Admiral of the Navy Headquarters. I'm here to replace General Zefa and become your instructor. As soon as this statement was spoken, the gaze that was already focused on Mitt became even sharper. They all felt a bit uneasy because of Mitt's young appearance. Of course Mitt knows what these guys are thinking, he said coldly. Although I've only been here for the first time, the vast majority of you have disappointed me. As he spoke, Mitt suddenly pulled open his upper body clothes, revealing his robust body inside. He has prominent scars all over his body, everywhere, and the scar on his chest is even more prominent. Suddenly doing so, everyone's eyes widened slightly, showing a surprised expression. Just this scar on the body is equivalent to a military merit medal, marking the results of each battle. At the same time, Mitt's whole body erupted with an astonishing momentum, and his tone was extremely serious. As long as you carry the word justice, you must have a consciousness that is commensurate with it. Our Navy doesn't take in cowards. If you join the Navy with this kind of family-oriented mentality, get out of here now. Mitt spoke loudly and confidently, with no one daring to answer. Everyone was suppressed by Mitt's aura and was momentarily stunned on the spot. After Mitt finished speaking, his gaze suddenly stopped at Sakaski. Do you have any consciousness? Sakaski. Sakaski didn't think about why Mitt knew his name. At this moment, his heart was stirred and he didn't hesitate to stand forward. No need to ask, of course I have consciousness. Sakaski said this with a serious expression in his eyes as he stared at Mitt. Because of this, the sound of the system echoed in Mitt's mind. Ding! Congratulations on earning the respect of Sakaski the Red Dog and starting to distribute rewards. Obtain a reward for being a domineering and domineering beginner. Unlock task, Mentor of the 3 Generals. Please ask the host to receive 100% respect from the pheasant, yellow ape, and red dog at the same time. Task completion rewards. Natural disaster fruit. Chapter 3. A small trial of the ox knife. Surprised students. You are listening at Naval Full.audio. Upon hearing the sound of the system, Mitt's eyes twitched slightly. The reward for domineering and domineering looks good just now, but it doesn't significantly improve my current strength. But at least it has stimulated the domineering and domineering nature, and it will eventually rise in the future. And that natural disaster fruit is indeed quite powerful. As a demon fruit of the natural system, it can unleash all types of natural disasters. No matter it is stormy, lightning, thunder, everything can be done. As long as it is obtained, it will definitely greatly enhance Mitt's strength. But the conditions to be obtained are very strict, to the extent that one must simultaneously earn the respect of 3 future generals. This is not something that can be completed in a short time, we can only wait for the opportunity. Mitt thought this way, his gaze continued to sweep over the crowd at the scene, and then said. The matter has been said, for the sake of world justice, let's accept my guidance now. Barrett heard Mitt say this, but he didn't nod along with the others. He spoke without hesitation. I have an opinion. A childish voice suddenly came from the crowd, and everyone quickly looked over to find it was Barrett. Originally, Barrett, an 8-year-old boy, was already very eye-catching, but now he has become the focus of attention. Everyone is curious about what this boy is trying to say. Barrett looked up and said loudly. In our country, we only believe in one thing, and that is power. I don't know what a navy is like, but I just can't accept it. Only the strongest can survive on the sea, there's no need to follow any messy rules. Barrett is an orphan, and the country of endless wars has been fighting since he became sensible, so he naturally believes more in power. That's why he didn't hesitate to forcefully confront Mitt in front of everyone. Barrett's behavior impressed everyone and they all agreed with what he said. Such a young boy would say that, no wonder he could join them. Barrett's gaze remained fixed on Mitt, with a confident smile on his lips. He is certain that Mitt will never be able to refute him. It's best to throw away those boring rules now. As expected, after a moment of silence, Mitt suddenly smiled slightly. What you said is not wrong, Barrett. Upon hearing Mitt's words, Barrett's face immediately showed a joyful expression. He is still a child, and Mitt can tell whatever he is thinking in his heart. However, Mitt immediately changed his tone. Since you agree that the strong are respected and strength is king, then you should listen to me even more. Barrett frowned and spoke. What are you talking about? Before he could finish speaking, Mitt's figure flickered and suddenly rushed over. Barrett didn't react at all, he just felt black in front of him, and Mitt appeared in front of him. He was suddenly taken aback and quickly wanted to avoid it. But Mitt's movements were much faster than Barrett's. He quickly extended a finger and poked it into the other person's chest. Finger the gun. Without much resistance, Barrett retreated and finally stopped his body. He half knelt down with his chest covered, panting heavily and dripping large beads of sweat. Barrett's eyes were filled with shock, and even now, he had not reacted. The other people on site instinctively exclaimed, but obviously did not react. Damn it! Barrett struggled to stand up and gritted his teeth. You're so despicable when I'm not paying attention. No one can reason on the battlefield, Barrett, said Mitt calmly. Don't forget what you just said. Do I have to tell you before I start? Barrett fell silent for a moment. Mitt's performance sparked a heated discussion among the naval students, and everyone was watching him. What a fast move, I didn't see it clearly just now. I knew Major General Mitt was very impressive. That move just now seems to have been used by Teacher Zefa. Someone hesitated. Upon hearing his companion's words, Policerino beside him smiled. This should be what Teacher Zefa said about the Navy's Type 6. Sikorsky also nodded and stared at Mitt without letting go. He is also savoring Mitt's recent actions. Mitt saw Barrett not speaking and immediately spoke up. Your strength in front of me is simply not enough. Kid, if you want to become a strong person, you must accept my guidance. Barrett took a deep breath, withdrew his initial mindset, and said in a deep voice. What was your move just now? He, like everyone else, was curious about the move Mitt had just used. Mitt didn't answer, but took the initiative to walk towards the forest on the other side. He suddenly stopped as he walked, extended a finger, and quickly thrust forward. A strong shockwave erupted from Mitt's fingertips and charged straight ahead. With a loud bang, this shockwave directly pierced through the entire forest ahead, leaving behind an incredibly thick and wide crack. The trees on both sides are swaying in the east and west, unable to resist the impact at all. Everyone was amazed by the power of this move, and many people exclaimed. How impressive! It even directly pierced through the forest. What trick is this? Can I learn it too? Everyone was amazed by Mitt's demonstrated strength, and at this point, no one harbored contempt. Mitt's short display of this skill has already impressed naval students. Policerino and Sikorsky also looked sideways with surprise in their eyes. This is the finger gun of one of the Navy's Type 6, Mitt explained lightly. This level of destructive power is just starting out, and each of you needs to learn it. In addition to pointing guns, I will also teach you the other Navy Type 6 one by one. Barrett heard Mitt say this and immediately walked towards the other person, looking excited. Are what you're saying true, Mitt? Mitt said, you can change your address first. Then I'll call you Teacher Mitt. Barrett changed quickly and quickly said to him. Isn't there another move? Tell me about it. Barrett has a straightforward personality, and he now wants to learn the same move from Mitt. That's why he's so eager. Mitt just smiled slightly at this and said calmly. I'm going to show you what an iron block is next. Barrett, let you cooperate with me. Barrett hesitated for a moment and looked at Mitt. Without waiting for him to ask, Mitt continued. Take all your strength now and attack me without reservation. Barrett was even more surprised in his eyes, but he quickly realized it. With a determined expression, Barrett nodded heavily. Okay. As soon as he finished speaking, he exerted all his strength and rushed straight towards Mitt. This momentum is unstoppable, as if it were destroying everything. Chapter 4. Everyone approves. Rewards from the system. You are listening at Naval Full.audio. The explosive momentum of Barrett surprised everyone on site. They didn't expect Barrett, who looked just a child, to have such a powerful aura. This momentum is something that no one present dares to ignore. Only Mitt remained standing still, with a confident smile on his face. This expression made Barrett even more angry and rushed towards the other person without hesitation. Give a fierce punch and hit Mitt's face directly. If this punch hits, Mitt will be seriously injured even if he doesn't die. But Mitt had already predicted Barrett's actions with his aura, and he gently shook his head. Then he extended his left hand and blocked Barrett's punch with the back of his hand. With a loud bang, the shock wave dispersed from between the two sides, creating a large cloud of smoke. Barrett dripped sweat on his forehead, gritted his teeth, and his eyes protruded. He had already exerted all his strength, but couldn't get any closer. Even when Barrett attacked Mitt's fist, there were faint signs of bone fracture. Barrett was stunned and immediately prepared to continue attacking. However, Mitt had long anticipated that the other party would do so and kicked the kid away with one kick. Barrett couldn't react at all, so he took a bite and flew away backwards. Because the speed was too fast, when everyone on site reacted, Barrett had already been heavily hit on the ground. The rising dust and the large pits on the ground speak for themselves. Everyone was shocked and looked at Mitt standing in the field. This is the strength of Major General Mitt. Such a powerful blow, yet incredibly fragile in the eyes of the other party. Mitt's moves have been quite effective, both those students and others have gained a new understanding of him. Feeling the shocked gazes of the crowd at the scene, Mitt smiled slightly. Barrett, your level is not enough to see. Speaking, Mitt walked towards Barrett and pulled him up. Barrett wiped the dust off his face and smiled at Mitt. I'm impressed, Teacher Mitt, you're really amazing. His eyes were ablaze with flames, and he couldn't help but say. Can you give me those moves just now? I really want to learn them. The power of the Navy's Type 6 and the strength of Mitt both convinced Barrett. He wants to learn as soon as possible and become as strong as Mitt. Not only Barrett, but also other students on site have the same view, all staring at Mitt. Teacher Mitt. We also need to learn the Navy's 6 styles. Yes. Teach us, Teacher Mitt. Faced with such a passionate crowd, Mitt's smile remained unchanged. Then let's go up together and experience the power of the Navy's Type 6. After speaking, Mitt began to teach these people the finger gun of one of the Navy's Type 6. The power generation method of the finger gun is relatively easy to master, and it can also be developed in a deeper direction. It can be said that it is a very scalable move in the 6 styles. Therefore, after Mitt personally taught the method of exerting force, many people began to practice in the forest. During the teaching period, Mitt also realized that he had just received a lot of respect. Among them, there is also Barrett's respect. Therefore, the cold prompt sound of the system sounded in Mitt's mind. Ding! Obtain Barrett's respect and distribute rewards. The host's reward is trait. Monster physique, new task opened. Barrett's life changes. In addition to these, Mitt also found himself able to see the panels of people he respected. His eyes lit up and he immediately found a place to look carefully. Most of these students are future lieutenants, as well as some senior generals who will make up for them. Red dogs and yellow apes, future great generals, are also among them. The vast majority of the potential lies between B.B levels. The potential of a general as a substitute is around S. The red dog Sikorsky and the yellow ape Porcelino are quite unique, both of which are. Barrett has great potential and is the only SS level member in this group. Upon careful examination, Mitt nodded in satisfaction. These people have a considerable influence in future generations, and it would be great to be their teachers. Moreover, there are system rewards, which will greatly increase Mitt's own strength. However, Mitt still had some questions, so he couldn't help but ask the system in his heart. How was the rating of this potential determined by the system? The system immediately responded to Mitt's question. Answer: host, only the strength of the 4th Emperor and Grand General can reach SS+, S level is below the rank of General, the SSS levels that can currently be exposed are. Joel D. Roger, rocks. Mitt nodded slightly and wanted to ask if he could directly see the potential panel of others. The system seemed to know what Mitt wanted to ask and responded immediately. Only those who recognize the host in their hearts can see their panel. After learning about this situation, Mitt couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed. After all, it must take a little more effort to get others' recognition, but it is not difficult for him. Thinking of this, Mitt's eyes ignited a flame of confidence. Anyway, think of a way to finish what needs to be done first. So, Mitt led a group of young naval students to practice the Navy's 6th form on this island. Everyone was enthusiastic about it and practiced until the sun set. Until the afterglow of the setting sun shone on Mitt, he nodded and walked over to Guillaume. Today's cultivation ends here. You should review it carefully when you go back. There is still a long way to go, don't think that's all you need to do. Barrett walked out of the forest, his face excited when he heard Mitt say so. Don't worry, Teacher Mitt, he shouted. We will never let you down. Mitt smiled slightly and then spoke loudly. Then I'll wait and see, not only you, but also others. After speaking, Mitt returned to the Navy headquarters with this group of students and officially disbanded. After having dinner in the Navy cafeteria at night, Mitt started moving alone. He wants to try his newly acquired monster physique and what kind of strength it will have when combined with dominance. The strength of physical fitness and dominance is closely related, especially the dominance of the dominant color. Since the physical fitness has improved, one's own strength will also increase. So Mitt specifically found a suitable place in the Navy headquarters. That's the port where abandoned warships are stored, and there are few people here, coupled with all the scrap copper and iron. It's best to test your strength. But just as Mitt was heading towards his destination, a figure quietly followed behind. This figure has been secretly following Mitt since he was in the cafeteria, and now he has been following him directly. Of course, Mitt had long known that someone was tracking him. And this guy doesn't need to think carefully to know who it is. Barrett. Chapter 5. Barrett's Respect. Teaching begins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That's right, it was Barrett himself who secretly followed Mitt. He has been keeping an eye on Mitt's situation since the beginning, and he followed suit when the other person left. Mitt, on the other hand, did not let Barrett come out after realizing that he was following him. He continued to move towards his destination, as if unsure of someone following him. Barrett is very curious about Mitt's actions and wants to know what the other party really wants to do. He felt that Mitt was a very secretive person and definitely had something to do. So, the two of them arrived at the port where the abandoned warship was placed, one in front of the other, and there was indeed no one there. On the sea surface, there were warships floating, and as the waves rose and fell, their bodies reflected a cold light. Barrett has just arrived here, of course not sure if there is still such a place. He felt even more puzzled when he saw Mitt coming here alone. What exactly does Mitt want to do? As if aware of Barrett's doubts, Mitt took a step forward. His fists were already pitch black, with a powerful armed aura attached. Immediately after, Mitt accumulated his strength on his fist and struck fiercely. The incredibly powerful fist gang launched a direct attack, emitting a huge shockwave and colliding with the forward warship. That warship couldn't withstand such a powerful impact and was torn apart in an instant. The entire warship snapped apart with a loud roar and quickly sank into the sea, setting off waves. Just Mitt's punch shattered a huge warship. Such a terrifying blow made Barrett look foolish. He widened his eyes and looked incredulous. Is this really something that humans can do? Barrett had never seen such a scene before, and was directly stunned and motionless. Immediately afterwards, a blazing flame erupted in his eyes. Since Mitt is so powerful, will he also be like him in the future? This flame quickly shot up in Barrett's heart, and his face turned red with excitement. Mitt, of course, saw Barrett's expression and felt even more satisfied. He flashed directly and appeared next to Barrett, patting his shoulder. "How's it going?" he asked with a smile. Barrett regained his senses and was startled. "Teacher Mitt." Mitt's smile remained unchanged, and he knew what Barrett was thinking now. Sure enough, Barrett immediately exclaimed excitedly after realizing it. "Teacher Mitt. You're really amazing. That move just now was too powerful. Is this really something that humans can do?" Barrett believed in powerful power and naturally admired Mitt very much. Moreover, Mitt is still his own teacher, and Barrett's eyes are filled with admiration. Mitt could easily tell from Barrett's expression and nodded slightly. He was satisfied with this, and indeed this little doll had never seen the world before, so it was easy to deceive. Although this kind of strength is relatively good on the sea, there are still many people who can do it. Of course, receiving Barrett's full respect is definitely a good thing for Mitt. At the same time, the system's prompt sound also sounded. Ding, obtaining full respect from student Barrett, reward distribution. Advanced armed colorful dominance. Upon hearing the system prompt, Mitt couldn't help but squint his eyes. Just by earning Barrett's complete respect, his armed aura has risen to a higher level. Getting more respect from a few people would definitely make Mitt even stronger. "Do you want to learn?" Mitt asked with a smile. Barrett nodded excitedly and said without hesitation. "I want to. I really want to learn." Although Barrett had eaten the devil's fruit, it was a burden to him. With his current level of control, he simply cannot exert himself. But now with Mitt's help, Barrett's future is limitless and will definitely be even stronger than before. Mitt nodded and continued. "Then come find me tomorrow by yourself." After speaking, Mitt ignored Barrett and left the scene directly. Barrett's eyes became even fiercer as he heard Mitt's words. Even though Mitt had already left his sight, the flame showed no signs of extinguishing. With this skill alone, Mitt gained the respect of a future powerhouse. At the same time, it has also received new improvements. This made Mitt even more determined to cultivate more students and further enhance his own abilities. With this enthusiasm, on the second day, Barrett indeed took the initiative to find Mitt. Mitt did not break his promise and immediately took the opponent to the training ground. "Hegemony is a powerful force that anyone can cultivate," Mitt said in a deep voice. It can also be divided into 3 types, with armed colors being the most widespread and fundamental. Seeing, hearing, and being domineering can predict the enemy's actions in advance, and even see a brief future. The domineering color is the rarest and only specific individuals will possess it. Only armed color and visible color can be learned through cultivation, which is the foundation of cultivating dominance. Barrett listened attentively without blinking his eyes. Mitt smiled slightly and continued speaking. "You should know that domineering is above the devil's fruit. There are many masters in the Navy who do not eat devil's fruit and can defeat devil's fruit abilities with just their domineering aura. You must cultivate your dominance well in order to truly become a strong person." "Yes." Barrett nodded heavily, his expression very excited. He can't wait to cultivate his dominance, his eyes filled with a desire to become stronger. Mitt saw all of this and affirmed Barrett's determination. So he officially began to teach Barrett the use and cultivation of his domineering aura. As Mitt just said, apart from the domineering and domineering aura of the aura, both the aura and armed colors can be mastered through cultivation. So from the beginning, he instructed Barrett to cultivate the most basic armed color dominance. Barrett is worthy of the potential SS level, and his speed in mastering the dominance of armed colors is quite fast. After only a few days, he was able to attach his armed aura to his fist and attack. So Mitt immediately began to teach Barrett the power of seeing and hearing. Seeing and hearing that color is domineering requires some threshold, but Barrett's qualifications are quite high. Moreover, he is full of enthusiasm for cultivation, and basically thinks about these all the time. In this state of being carefree, no matter what progress is made in learning, it is very fast. In this way, Barrett, under Mitt's careful guidance, initially learned the domineering and visible colors of armed colors. After achieving results in his cultivation, Barrett was naturally very excited and showed even greater respect to Mitt. While Barrett is improving his strength, Mitt himself is also following suit. This is the benefit that the instructor system brings, and it also makes Mitt enthusiastic about future teaching. He doesn't just have to teach Barrett alone, there are many students with unlimited potential waiting for him to guide. Meanwhile, Mitt's strength will continue to improve. Chapter 6. Testing. Barrett's growth. You are listening at Naval Full.audio. The next morning, the Navy soldiers with yawns stood listlessly at their posts. Because they had to train last night, it made their spirits a bit weak. Barrett is an exception, despite last night's cultivation, he is still in good spirits. With an excited smile on his face, Barrett's figure flashed out of the forest and landed on the ground. Feeling the new power in his hands, Barrett's smile became even more brilliant. He felt that he was definitely much stronger than yesterday. He even felt unstoppable in his current self, even with Mitt present, he could still make gestures. This confidence drove Barrett, making him unable to resist walking towards Mitt's position. Mitt was sitting on a large stone at this moment, holding his chest with both hands and nodding his head. And around him, surrounded by a group of people, were the new generation of the Navy who came to repair early. These guys are all very focused on cultivation, so there's no need for Mitt to say anything, just intuition to practice. Yesterday Mitt had already taught them the basics of the Navy's Type 6, and today is the time to practice with each other. Although Mitt appears relaxed on the surface, he has been paying attention to the group of students around him. As expected, when Barrett approached, Mitt immediately noticed. He glanced towards Barrett's side, and he felt a shiver all over his body. Barrett didn't expect Mitt to react so quickly, he was indeed startled. After looking at Mitt's situation, Barrett's face darkened. Just now, I felt unstoppable, but when I saw Mitt, Barrett hesitated a bit. He wants to challenge Mitt now and is a bit scared. Seemingly sensing Barrett's hesitation, Mitt smiled. You're late today, Barrett. Barrett regained his senses and quickly said, I just forgot. As he spoke, Barrett prepared to walk into the crowd. Don't worry so much, Mitt suddenly spoke up and stopped him. Your current state is very good, it seems that your cultivation results were very good last night. Since that's the case, why not give it a try? Barrett shook his whole body and turned to look at Mitt, his face becoming very serious. His momentum began to climb, clearly prepared for an outbreak. Since Mitt has said that, Barrett will definitely not attract customers upon seeing this, Mitt yawned and his voice suddenly became louder, if any of you show hostility towards Barrett, then take action against him. Just last night, while Barrett's own strength improved, Mitt was also constantly improving. Thanks to Barrett, Mitt gained a lot of proficiency in armed and visible color dominance last night. It can be said that it greatly enhances Mitt's perception and destructive ability. Therefore, Mitt himself also wanted to see Barrett's strength and let him accept challenges from other students. Mitt wants to know how powerful this legendary monster is. The interaction between Mitt and Barrett had long attracted the attention of the surrounding students, and as soon as they heard this announcement, they immediately began to discuss. Barrett seems to have become much stronger again. He must have secretly practiced last night. Does Teacher Mitt mean to let us deal with Barrett? That's for sure, otherwise why did Mitt ask us to take action? A group of students quickly surrounded Barrett as they spoke. Similarly, Mitt was also among them, sitting on the big stone. He smiled and felt the atmosphere in front of him, speaking up. Don't underestimate Barrett, his strength is much stronger now than before. This sentence was certainly intentional by Mitt, as he knew these teenagers couldn't resist being provoked. As expected, someone immediately spoke loudly. I really want to see how powerful Barrett is now. The person spoke and walked out of the crowd. This is a burly young man with a slightly immature face, but his momentum is quite impressive. He had tiger-like eyes that kept staring at Barrett without moving. Barrett was also very excited and had already started jumping and warming up in place. Everyone's gaze was focused on Barrett and his companions. And silently spread out to surround. Barrett is looking at the other person, and the other person is also looking at Barrett. Aren't you taking action yet? The burly boy suddenly spoke up. Barrett gave a cold smile to the other party's question and then said. Let you take action first. He said this as if he thought he couldn't handle it manually, which made the other person very unhappy. Don't think you're too powerful, Barrett, he said in a deep voice. I want to see how good you really are. After speaking, the burly boy suddenly burst out and charged towards Barrett. The opponent's speed was quite fast, and soon they arrived in front of Barrett. Shave. This move is also difficult to master in the Navy's 6 styles, but the opponent is quite good at using it. The new generation of Navy on the scene did not react to this speed and sudden attack. The burly boy punched Barrett's head directly like this, with very rapid movements. Faced with this attack, Barrett didn't even dodge and looked up and kowtowed over. With a thud, the burly boy punched Barrett directly on the chin. A strong shock wave spread between the two, and the dust and smoke it raised dazzled everyone's eyes. These onlookers were all stunned and never expected Barrett to catch the attack like this. And this burly young man reacted quickly, ready to close his fist and strike again. But Barrett won't give the other party a chance, he swung a punch and flew it straight away. This burly young man slammed heavily onto the ground, creating a large pit and being engulfed in dust and smoke. The other onlookers on site let out a deep breath and were once again shocked by Barrett's performance. This guy named Barrett, although he's just a child, his strength is not inferior to any of them. What kind of monster is this? Many people thought this way and quickly looked over. Who else? Barrett let out a domineering roar, his eyes flickering with blazing flames. He didn't really enjoy the hit just now, so he happened to practice his skills with these guys. This is Barrett's idea, he did not conceal it at all. Naturally, the new generation of Navy around them will not shrink back. Even with Barrett's appearance, they will not give up. In the crowd, a young man with a pale face and long hair walked out. Then let me challenge you, Barrett. Barrett immediately saw that the opponent's strength was good, but he didn't panic at all. You can call me Ghost Spider, Ghost Spider announced to himself with a serious expression. Barrett smiled and also put on a fighting posture with the opponent. He wants to see what moves the opponent has to use. The atmosphere was once again tense, and Barrett's battle with the Ghost Spider officially began. Chapter 7. Battle of Ghost Spiders. Experience is rapidly increasing. You are listening at Naval full.audio. No one spoke again, and the Ghost Spider launched an attack directly. He dodged and punched, but Barrett easily dodged him. Faced with the Ghost Spider, Barrett dared not take it lightly and took the opportunity to burrow into the opponent's right arm. Successfully avoided the Ghost Spider's fist, while Barrett punched the face door. His fists have been dyed black, with an armed aura attached. Once taken away, this battle can be ended. But Ghost Spider wouldn't bow down, his hair suddenly changed and became sharp. Immediately after, in a situation that Barrett did not expect, the Ghost Spider's hair with armed colors hit him directly on the chest. This blow forced Barrett to retreat, but the Ghost Spider ignored and continued to chase after him. His move is to use Life Return and control his armed aura to attack Barrett. To do so requires extremely powerful control, which surprised Barrett a bit. As expected, the Ghost Spider's attack still hit Barrett, causing him to retreat in a row. Fortunately, Barrett gritted his teeth and avoided the next attack, which prevented him from taking another blow. After just a few rounds of fighting, Barrett knew that the enemy had extraordinary strength and was indeed a tricky opponent. The Ghost Spider continued to attack Barrett without any intention of stopping. And his hair speed is getting faster and faster, coupled with his legs and feet, his strength is also getting stronger. Faced with such skilled and domineering naval veterans, Barrett really doesn't have a good way to deal with them. He can only constantly dodge, trying to find opportunities for attack. The battle between the two made the surrounding students discuss and occasionally shout out. Barrett probably hasn't put in all his strength yet. I don't know if the Ghost Spider can hold him down. Of course it can, the Ghost Spider is really powerful. I think Barrett has a chance. He's not a fuel-efficient lamp either. The Ghost Spider saw this situation and its attack became colder and faster. Although he still couldn't touch the other person, Barrett's speed also accelerated. The Ghost Spider dodged Barrett's attack while fighting back. Under this attack, Barrett visibly became restless. Mitt looked at it with a smile on his face that never stopped. He sat on a big stone, listening to the cold sound of his brain system. Gain the experience of seeing, hearing, and looking domineering. Gain experience of armed color dominance. Mitt's experience points are rapidly increasing, constantly enhancing his strength. Mitt naturally enjoyed the battle between Barrett and the Ghost Spider, which happened to increase his own strength. The battle on the field continued, and Barrett's movements became increasingly impatient. Nevertheless, Barrett's eyes were filled with excitement. Barrett has been killing enemies on the battlefield since he became sensible, and only that is the most suitable place for him. With a bump, the Ghost Spider still hit Barrett's chest. But Barrett was different from before. He let out a loud shout and his momentum burst out. Armed with a domineering aura covering his chest, Barrett forcefully blocked the attack of the Ghost Spider. The Ghost Spider was surprised by Barrett's dominance. At this time, Barrett had adapted to the storm-like attack and gradually had the ability to resist. So while the Ghost Spider stopped, Barrett grabbed his wrist with his left hand and his hair with his right hand. The Ghost Spider's hair was still dancing, and without hesitation, it attacked Barrett, but was forcefully interrupted by his punch. The secret passage is not good. Just as the Ghost Spider was about to react, Barrett caught its hair. The attack method was restricted by Barrett, and the Ghost Spider had to struggle to break free. But Barrett won't give the other party a chance, he just punched the Ghost Spider face. This punch was quite heavy, and the Ghost Spider was knocked to the ground like this, unable to stand up temporarily. Faced with this situation, the scene suddenly fell into a deadly silence. If it was just a small trial just now, Barrett's experience has shocked them. Everyone was shocked by Barrett's displayed strength, and he even knocked down the Ghost Spider with just one punch. It's really a monster to have such powerful power despite being just a child. The onlookers looked at Barrett one after another, realizing that his sharp gaze had already swept over him. With an explosive aura, Barrett at this moment seemed like a bloodthirsty beast. He has been aroused with a strong sense of war and yearns for the next battle. The Ghost Spider and the burly boy stood up at the same time and looked at Barrett. Although they can still fight, they are also aware that they are no longer the current opponents of Barrett. Although they were defeated, they did not show much disappointment on their faces, but rather were quite serious. What? Barrett tilted his head and looked at the group of people. Keep going. Barrett became increasingly excited and wanted to continue fighting against them. The naval youths on site looked at each other and hesitated. After all, everyone has seen Barrett's performance just now, which is definitely not something that ordinary people can handle. Polyusolino pursed his lips, showing no interest in the battle. But Sikaski next to him was different. After hearing Barrett's words, he immediately walked over. Pinching his knuckles, Sikaski's face remained gloomy. His momentum climbed all over, making the young people around him unable to resist a slight change in color. They all knew of Sikaski's strength and immediately retreated. If the action is not fast enough, it will definitely affect them when the fight starts later. Only Polyusolino remained in his lazy appearance, unaffected at all. Barrett, your strength is indeed very good, Sikaski said in a deep voice. But that's all for now. You must dampen your spirit well. Sikaski knew that although Barrett was still young, his strength should not be underestimated. Therefore, he did not hesitate and immediately decided to use the power of the magma fruit. I saw Sikaski's right hand quickly turn into hot lava and walk straight towards Barrett. Barrett is also prepared to explode at any time. But just then, Mitt's voice rang out. Let's call it a day. As soon as the words fell, Mitt's own figure appeared lightning fast between Barrett and Sikaski. Both of them were surprised, they didn't expect Mitt to move so quickly. The main reason Mitt stopped was because Sikaski and Barrett were both monsters, with Red Dog and Magma Fruit. Barrett is definitely at a disadvantage when fighting against the other party, and it will also affect others. Why stop me? Barrett said in a deep voice. Because you will get hurt, and it is irreversible, Mitt said confidently. Upon hearing this, Barrett instinctively stared at Sikaski across from him. Don't underestimate any opponent in front of you, Barrett. Stop fighting everywhere now, there's no need to continue fighting. Chapter 8. Training officially begins. New enemy. You are listening at Naval Full.audio. After being cut off by Mitt, Barrett lost the desire to continue fighting and his momentum suddenly weakened. Sikaski was the same, but his gaze remained on Mitt. Mitt smiled slightly and his gaze swept over the crowd at the scene. At that moment, the alarm clock he was always carrying suddenly rang, quickly letting everyone on site know. Oh my, Mitt shook his head. It seems time flies by quickly. So today's training will officially begin. You guys have just learned the Navy's Type 6, and we need to continue consolidating in the future. Upon hearing Mitt's words, these naval students nodded immediately. Sikaski also spoke up, we'll go over now, Teacher Mitt. He still respects Mitt quite a bit, after all, he did teach a lot. Barrett looked left and right, then walked into the crowd and stood with them. Let's all set off, Mitt waved his hand. Don't slack off, wait for me to go. After speaking, Mitt turned around and left. Ziyuan did not leave with Mitt, but acted together with the group of naval students. She was holding a video phone worm in her hand, recording the situation just now. Mitt and quickly returned to the office, where General Crane had been waiting for a long time. General, he smiled and nodded towards me. Well done, Mitt. You also have a good eye, adding another good talent to the Navy. Of course, what General he said was Barrett. She just caught a glimpse of Barrett's battle through the video phone worm. Barrett's youthful appearance, combined with his terrifying strength, is indeed worth paying attention to. General, he was not grateful that Zefa had brought Mitt, and this young man indeed has good abilities. The child we brought in has a high level of talent and is definitely a great target for cultivation. General Crane, this is just the first step, Mitt said. There are many people on the sea with such high talents, not just Barrett. If it could be peaceful, there wouldn't be so many pirates. You're right. Mitt's words were approved by General Crane. She continued, so how do you plan to train next? General Crane is now very curious about Mitt's methods and wants to know how the other party will act. Mitt just smiled slightly at this and then said, "Please wait and see." Soon, General he saw the situation of those students through the video phone worm. These new generations of Navy are gathering on a deserted small island nearby, seemingly waiting for someone. General he soon discovered that a ship was moving towards the direction of this island at a considerable speed. She immediately wanted to know what Mitt was going to do and asked, "What do you want to do, Mitt?" Mitt naturally said, "This is to teach those students the cruelty of battle. Just wait and see." At this moment, General he also noticed the situation of the ship, which was truly a pirate ship. Her face changed slightly as she was about to say something to Mitt, but was interrupted by the other person. "No need to say more, Lieutenant Crane," Mitterrand said in his voice. "I am their instructor now, and everything is under my control." After speaking, Mitt turned around and left, leaving General Crane with a bitter smile. General Crane now knows that Mitt is really unique in some aspects. Mitt's movements were fast, and soon he caught up with the pirate ship. Many pirates were sitting on the deck of the ship, and Mitt was startled when he arrived. Many pirates were immediately preparing to launch an attack on Mitt, but still stopped in their tracks. Because Mitt's aura is quite terrifying, these pirates are absolutely not sure if they can win. Taking out a stack of bounty orders, Mitt scanned the scene with his gaze. He took a brief look and knew that many of the pirates in the bounty were here. The highest bounty among this group of pirates is 2,000 million Bailey, and others also have a lot of bounties, averaging around 10 million Bailey. It can be said that the strength of these pirates is decent, at least not like ordinary minions. "What exactly do you want to do?" the leading pirate said in a deep voice. If he hadn't been unable to defeat Mitt, he would have taken action now. "Aren't you trying to escape?" Mitt sneered coldly. "I'm giving you a chance now." Upon hearing him say so, the pirates at the scene lit up their eyes. They certainly want to escape here as soon as possible, but they can only rely on Mitt himself. Mitt continued without hesitation. "You will soon confront a group of navies, as long as you kill them, you can leave. I keep my word." After speaking, without explaining to the pirates at the scene, Mitt turned around and left directly. These pirates fell silent for a while, their eyes gradually flickering with a cold light. At this point, we can only put in a fight. Mitt jumped out of the pirate ship, and by now the ship was quite close to the shore. He immediately struck hard with a punch, and a strong shockwave hit the ship, causing it to fly towards the shore. The pirates inside hurriedly disembarked from the ship and landed on the island. This situation naturally caught the attention of the small island navy. Immediately, someone rushed to the pile of naval students and shouted loudly, "Enemy attack! Pirates are landing on the shore." Although it was unclear what was going on, Sikorsky and other students immediately took action and rushed towards the shore. How could there be pirates here so close to Marinfando? You're right, probably exercises or something like that. But what if we really do it? We definitely need to notify Major General Mitt. Someone believed it to be true and immediately prepared to notify Mitt. Ziyuan was also among this group of naval soldiers, silently listening to the discussions around him. At this moment, Mitt's figure appeared next to Guillaume. His appearance quickly caught the attention of these turbulent naval soldiers. "Major General Mitt," someone shouted immediately. Mitt nodded at them and then spoke up. "You don't have to worry, everything is arranged by me." Sure enough, upon hearing Mitt's words, these naval soldiers breathed a sigh of relief. Mitt looked at the group of pirates on the shore, and they had also discovered this place. Sikorsky and Barrett, as the vanguard troops. At this moment, I am eager to try. Their eyes were filled with a strong sense of war, and they didn't hesitate to go and block it. Sikorsky instinctively looked at Mitt, as if he knew something. "Teacher Mitt, please give the order." Mitt waved his right hand and said loudly, "The enemy probably has 305 pirates, whether alive or dead, as long as they can all be killed. Never let any fish slip through the net. Remember, no one can leave the island. Upon hearing Mitt's command, a serious smile appeared on Sikorsky's face. Yes. Chapter 9. Red Dog's Respect. The Crane's Doubts. You are listening at Naval Full.audio. To Mitt's surprise, just as Sikorsky nodded, he heard the sound of the system. Obtaining respect from student Sikorsky, now you can view Sikorsky's attribute panel at any time. Mitt was naturally taken aback and quickly glanced at Sikorsky's panel. Previously, he couldn't check Sikorsky's situation, but now he can. Sikorsky's potential is beyond Mitt's expectations, and it is indeed at the SSS level. After all, this man will become a naval marshal in the future, and his potential will definitely be quite strong. Red Dog Sikorsky has a serious personality, acts decisively, and a sharp and resolute style. No matter what the enemy is in front of him, he will not retreat, and his spirit is extremely resilient. Moreover, he is still a natural lava fruit expert, and with his impressive and domineering cultivation, his strength is strong enough. So before, when Sikorsky wanted to take action, Mitt would only stop him, but now Barrett is definitely not able to defeat him. Sikorsky, do you have the confidence to solve these pirates? Mitt looked at Sikorsky. Sikorsky paused slightly and immediately nodded. Of course, not a problem. He spoke with confidence in his tone, and his strong momentum seemed to erupt. What are you waiting for? Mitt shouted. Why don't you bring someone over to deal with those pirates? Sikorsky understood Mitt's meaning and wanted him to command this operation. Everyone else had no objections and quickly looked at Sikorsky. Barrett originally had it, but he will not oppose Mitt's decision for the time being. If you catch these pirates, there will be a reward for catching them. Mitt continued. He glanced at the crowd and said coldly. Go. Sikorsky immediately rushed towards the shore with a group of young people, moving quite quickly. Only Guillaume and a few other naval soldiers remained in place. Major General Mitt. Guillaume looked at Mitt. General, he seems to have a problem and wants to contact you. Don't take out the phone, worm, Mitt said lightly. I know everything she wants to say, you stay here to record the situation. I'll tell her when I go back. After speaking, Mitt turned around and left, disappearing from the scene in an instant. He quickly returned to the office, and General, he had indeed been paying attention to the situation of that group of students. As soon as Mitt walked in, General Crane immediately spoke up and asked. Mitt, you're acting too recklessly. Is there anything? Mitt smiled. Compared to the brutal battles outside, this is already similar to the House of Play. Upon hearing Mitt's words, General Crane couldn't help but shake his head. The problem is that these young people are all the future of the Navy. I can't help but worry. Don't think too much. Mitt sat directly in his seat. General Crane asked, do you have any way to protect their safety? Mitt took a sip of tea and answered lightly. The pirate with a bounty of 20 million is already protecting them. Mitt's confidence left General Crane unsure of what to say. Now Mitt is taking on the role of instructor, and General, he himself cannot directly oppose it. After thinking for a moment, General, he sighed and then continued to look at the footage coming from the scene. Anyway, let's take a look at the situation first. Unlike the worried General Crane, Mitt still had a calm and composed appearance. In his opinion, if he couldn't even handle these little pirates, there was no need to accept his teachings. On the scene, led by Sikorsky, the group rushed towards the shore. The vast majority of people here follow in Sikorsky's footsteps. Only Barrett and Polisorino are acting alone, not together. Barrett originally had objections to Sikorsky taking the lead, so naturally he wouldn't follow him. Hey! You're called Polisorino, right? Barrett shouted to Polisorino, who was walking behind. Hurry up and follow that guy Sikorsky, don't be left alone. Polisorino looked up at Barrett and ignored him. Barrett certainly doesn't care about the other party, he just casually reminds them. If anything happens to this guy, Barrett won't save him either. In his eyes, only Sikorsky could take a few glances. However, just as Barrett was approaching the shore, a golden light suddenly flashed by. Barrett was startled and instinctively avoided to the side, but the golden light only brushed past. Upon closer inspection, it turned out that the golden light was actually Paulicelino himself. "It's too slow." Paulicelino smiled at Barrett and then flashed away. Barrett's eyes were full of war and he grinned. "Alright, you kids' strength is actually quite good. But I won't lose to you." Barrett, who was aroused to win, rushed towards the shore without hesitation, even faster than before. In this way, the three sides rushed towards the direction of the pirates on the shore together, with a very imposing momentum. Those pirates landed on the shore, resting and cursing at the same time. "Damn it. That naval bastard just sent us here to deal with another group of guys." "Alright, it's good if they're willing to let us go," a pirate shrugged. "Anyway, you don't have to face that terrible guy. Let's just kill all those navies. There's never a guy who's even more powerful, right?" "Humph," a pirate said in a deep voice. "Anyway, I will definitely torture those bastards well later. How dare you play with me? It's like seeking death." In their view, being caught inexplicably was already enough to make them unhappy. "I still have to fight a group of navies now, and my heart must be even more angry. They swear that when they encounter those navies, they will never show mercy." General, he looked at it and slightly evaluated the combat effectiveness of this group of pirates. In fact, what Mitt just said is correct. Although these pirates have some strength, they are definitely not opponents of Sikorsky and his team. Despite this, General Crane's expression still did not relax. Although these pirates' strength is not enough. But Mitt, doing so will make them numb and cause unnecessary casualties. "So what?" Mitt asked in reverse. "Shouldn't a pirate act when he appears in front of him? Moreover, if these kids don't suffer more losses, they will have a long memory. What qualifications do you have to become the backbone of the Navy?" General Crane was left speechless by Mitt's words, and suddenly fell silent. She knew Mitt was right, but she just had some objections to his handling. Facing the gaze of General Crane, Mitt hugged his chest with both hands and his face was full of confidence. You can also see that the strength of these pirates is difficult to pose a threat to them. The best knife can only become a famous one after being sharpened. Let's wait and see, General Crane. Chapter 10. Don't abuse good people. Two people's opinions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So, the pirates and the Navy entered a forest at the same time. These pirates were not originally part of the same group, so they immediately divided into several major forces upon entering. Coincidentally, the Navy is also searching for enemies in the forest. Soon, Sikorsky encountered some pirates on his side and they were all easily solved by him. The strength he demonstrated was immediately perceived by other restless pirates around him. Therefore, many pirates who knew their strength was not good immediately gave up the idea of attacking him. "Don't worry about that magma man, let's attack the others first," shouted the leader among several pirates. After shouting, they immediately changed their target. "Anyway, there are still many navies here. Let's deal with them first." With this idea in mind, these pirates quickly found a lone navy. This navy is none other than Barrett, who is constantly charging forward. But just as they were about to stop Barrett and take action against him, Barrett didn't even glance at them and pushed them aside with one shoulder. With a bang, these pirates were suddenly scattered by the collision, without any means of counterattack. Before they could get up from the ground, another golden light kept flashing. They only felt a golden light enveloping their eyes and immediately lost consciousness. And the battle situation on the main battlefield has just begun, with the majority of these pirates launching an attack on the Navy together. Due to the sudden situation, many navies naturally suffered losses. Only Sikorsky remained calm and composed, commanding others while dealing with the enemy. You guys step back and fight around first. Sakaski shouted, punching a pirate ahead. This pirate originally intended to unleash his power and take action, but was easily defeated by Sakaski. Without hesitation, Sakaski decided to pursue the victory and plunged into the group of pirates. Looking from the forest outside, one can see where everyone is. The position where Poliusolino is located flickers with lightning, while the position where Barrett is located is full of obstacles. Only the location of Sakaski the Red Dog can be slightly quieter. After the recent situation, few pirates are willing to provoke such a group of navies. Many navies gathered next to Sakaski to fight against the pirates together. However, although this is safe, it does not receive the reward promised by Mitt so gradually. Some people left this team and took action alone. Soon, around Sakaski, there were relatively weak navies who were assisting together. Among them was a young navy with towering cheekbones and a pale face, attacking the pirates ahead. Just then, a sudden cry for help came from the jungle. The young T-Pen's face changed and he immediately stopped walking. T-Pen. What are you doing? His actions caught the attention of his companions nearby. Someone behind is shouting for help. T-Pen said without hesitation, I'm going to save him. After speaking, without waiting for his companions to answer, T-Pen quickly turned around and left. He moved quite quickly, even General Crane was surprised. This young man is quite enthusiastic, not bad. She nodded in admiration. The Navy should be like this. Mitt, of course, also saw T-Pen and said lightly. This is the kind of person. Of course, T-Pen was no stranger to him, and his words and actions on the sea train were quite inspiring. But the final outcome is heartbreaking, being killed by the most trusted civilians. Thinking of this, Mitt couldn't help but shake his head. He and General Crane had different opinions. The Navy should be able to distinguish who should be protected or not. There is no need for saints in this world. General Crane disagrees slightly with Mitt's view. You can't say that, as a Navy, you still have to try to be a good person. Mitt sneered at General Crane's statement. Then you can take a look at the next situation. As soon as the words fell, there was indeed a situation in the picture. I saw T-Pen rushing over along with the cries for help, but after searching for a long time, I couldn't find any rescue targets. Before he could react, several pirates jumped out from beside and attacked him. T-Pen was startled and managed to block several attacks with his knife, but his left leg was still hacked. He suddenly stood unsteadily and half knelt on the ground. Ha! I knew there were fools who fell for it. The pirate leader laughed heartily. Everyone take action. Let's deal with this idiot first. After speaking, the pirate didn't hesitate to strike T-Pen's head with a knife. Get out of here. Barrett suddenly rushed out of the forest and flew several pirates in one breath. The remaining pirates were stunned by Barrett's aura and momentarily froze in place. Barrett, of course, was not polite. He punched and kicked these pirates all over. Are you okay? Barrett casually pulled T-Pen up. T-Pen stared blankly at Barrett and opened his mouth. Thank you. Don't tell me that, Barrett frowned. You might as well fight a few more pirates if you have the time. What do you want to do when you see pirates and fight them? Before T-Pen could continue speaking, Barrett continued to charge forward. He is in a hurry to catch the pirates and doesn't have time to care about others. Upon seeing this situation, General Crane was even more surprised and instinctively looked at Mitt. Mitt didn't say anything and turned around to leave the office. Lieutenant General, he continued to look at the situation in the image, with a thoughtful expression. She murmured, do the Navy really need to change this situation now? General Crane saw something different from Mitt and Barrett, which made her start to waver. On the other side, several navies immediately rushed up from behind after Barrett left. They all fell behind the others due to their slow speed, and now the main army is starting to chase those pirates. T'Peng stood up again with their help and gritted his teeth. There are pirates ahead, we need to hurry over and help. The naval boy who helped him nodded. Let's hurry over there. They also suffered some injuries, all of which were left by those pirates. Because of this, many pirates seized the opportunity to escape, which made them very angry. T'Peng is also the same, and he will definitely continue to pursue these pirates, but just as they were moving, Mitt's figure suddenly appeared ahead. That's it, Mitt said directly. T'Peng and others were startled and quickly asked. Why? Mitt glanced at them and said coldly. You have been eliminated and are not qualified to continue. T'Peng and others wanted to explain, but Mitt didn't even listen and left directly. Only a few of them remain in place. Since that's the case, T'Peng and the others can only pack themselves up and leave with a heavy heart. Mitt heard the commotion behind him, shook his head slightly, and whispered softly. Although I hope you can change, everything can only be done by yourself. What is this setback when you want to grow?